Timely and effective management is key to full recovery with the case of retained placenta. Hello and welcome once again aboard JulieCity. How are you keeping? Hope you're keeping well and safe. As usual, I'm always excited to be here, and I'm glad you are here. Thank you for clicking to watch today's video. You're highly appreciated. So we continue with our pregnancy care series, and in today's video we are going to be looking at retained placenta. Retained placenta. If you've been following the pregnancy care series, you know we have discussed a lot about the placenta and things that can cause concern with the placenta. If you've not watched them, then I'll be leaving their links at the end screen of this video. Both on the end screen and on the card, I'll encourage you to watch after this. Better still, check out my main page, click on my icon, go to videos, and you will see a chronological order of all the videos. Knowledge is power, and wisdom is profitable to direct. Again, these videos are not meant to scare you. I can't say that enough. Rather, to empower you to make informed choices and decisions. Of all the other placenta issues we have discussed, this one is the only one that happens at the end of a pregnancy. I will explain. So, retained placenta, as the name implies, simply means that the placenta is retained or stays back at the end of the birth of a baby. So, let's rewind a little bit about labor and birth. So, there are 3 stages of labor. First one is the early labor, right up till when it is confirmed that the woman is fully dilated. The second stage of labor then ends at the birth of the baby. The third stage of labor is the birth of the placenta. So the placenta is only birthed after baby is born. With our last video, we talked about when the placenta separates too early. Again, I will say watch that video. You'll find it very useful and insightful. With retained placenta, what happens is after baby is born, the placenta is expected to be born within 30 minutes. 30 minutes for active management and 60 minutes for physiological management. Just keep watching. I will explain. I will also not fail to mention at this point that retained placenta can be a partial retention of some of the placenta or the whole placenta being retained, staying back after baby is born. There are 2 ways in which the placenta can be birthed. The first is physiological birth of the placenta. As the name implies, it is more like a natural way, allowing the body to do its thing, to birth at its time. In a separate video, I will go into more details. We'll just leave it here. The second method of birthing the placenta is what we refer to the active way of birthing placenta. And this simply means that the woman gets an injection following birth to facilitate the quick delivery of the placenta, depending on the person's medical status. So they get an injection following the birth of their baby to facilitate or quicken the process of birthing the placenta. The idea is to minimize bleeding and to reduce the waiting time for physiological birth to occur. But remember, it is your choice what you choose to do in line with your medical requirement. Possible reasons why retained placenta might happen. The first one is, which is the most common one, is the fact that the contraction, or what I prefer to call the surges, which should facilitate the detaching and birth of the placenta, has either slowed down or too weak or even completely stopped. As a result, the placenta is unable to effectively detach and be born. Another thing that can cause placenta retention is very rarely the placenta is trapped by the closure of the cervix. The cervix closes before the placenta is born. This leads to placenta retention. Another reason for placenta retention is one of the topics we have treated. I'll leave this video here. If you remember, placenta accreta, placenta pacreta, and placenta increta. Simply rounded up, it simply means that the placenta embeds, plants itself beyond where it should be located in the womb, into the muscles and even other organs of the body. I will encourage you to watch that full video so you can get the full crops of the matter. So if that happens, then there won't be enough contraction. No matter how strong that contraction or surges are, they might not be strong enough to cause the placenta to detach, because the placenta attached itself beyond the ability to detach at this stage. This obviously will lead to severe bleeding and might require surgical removal of the placenta. Again, I say placenta retention can be retention of the whole placenta or a part of the placenta. If the retention of the placenta is linked to reduced contraction or surges, then if the lady has chosen a physiological management of her placenta, at this point the midwife or the healthcare professional, the doctor looking after the woman, might suggest going for an active stage, that is receiving an oxytocin based injection to facilitate the detaching of the placenta. But in a more severe situation like placenta increta or pacreta, then the obstetrician might advise on surgical removal, like I said, going into the theater to do a surgical removal of whatever is retained. Following the birth of any placenta, one of the requirements the midwife will have to fulfill is inspecting the placenta, and one of that reasons is to make sure that it is complete. If it looks ragged or it looks like bits and pieces of it are missing, then there might be possibility or high chance of diagnosing retained placenta. Depending on the situation, a decision will be made with you in the middle of it, deciding if an antibiotics will be required in order to fend away any form of infection that will arise as a result of retained product or retained placenta. Other simple methods of managing retained placenta could be putting the baby to breast. With a simpler case of placenta retention can actually induce contraction or surges at that initial stage, which will help to birth the placenta. Emptying the bladder can actually facilitate the birth of the placenta, because if the bladder is full, it's literally occluding the birth canal, which will in turn prevent the placenta to be born. So something as simple as emptying the bladder could actually facilitate or resolve retained placenta. Where all the simple methods fail, like I said earlier, it will then result to an emergency surgery to get the placenta out, because the longer it stays, the more chances of bleeding and the more chances of infection, which will in turn impact on your postpartum experience and might delay breastfeeding, bonding, and recovery time. So timely and effective management is key to full recovery with the case of retained placenta. Some of the reasons for retained placenta include increased maternal age, having preterm birth, especially if it is before 34 weeks, so the body is not ready to expel the placenta, a long first phase of labor. At this point, the body is exhausted and unable to produce strong contraction or surges to birth the placenta. And stillbirth, which so a baby that has already passed before it's been born, can increase the chances of retained placenta. It's also important to highlight here that retained placenta might not necessarily be identified following birth and birth of the placenta. Sometimes it will be during the postpartum phase, so postnatal phase, when you've been discharged from the hospital. If you notice that your bleeding is heavier, large clots, brighter in color in terms of very red, and has a foul smell, it's important to speak to your midwife or the doctor that is looking after you in pregnancy. Remember, a stitch in time saves 9. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It helps the video to be pushed out to those who will need to see them. If you have not subscribed, then what are you waiting for? Click on that subscribe button and the notification bell. That's way you don't miss my video when I upload. Leave your comments in the comment section. I always love to hear from you in the comment section. Also, it is your platform to educate us even further or share your experience regarding these topics. So I look forward to hearing from you in the comment section. Remember to share these videos to your social media platforms and those you think will benefit from it. Till I see you next time, don't forget, your health is your wealth. Bye-bye. Don't forget to click on these videos popping up. You'll find them insightful and informative. Bye.